And we're live. Good evening, good afternoon, good night, wherever you may be, and welcome to another scene in Living World of Darkness, the Mage venue from the Ashes. Tonight's scene finds uh, two of the magelings engaged in conversation. Finds one, Nausicaa Theodora Alexios, um, walking around the chantry to find our resident bookworm, Mrs. Ava, who, despite her concentration and her intensive study, can't shake off a certain song and a certain phrase from her mind. And it is here that we begin our scene.
Nausicaa is, as she often seems to be, when she's not holed up in her room, maybe she just wants some fresh air or something. She is basically she's in the common area, and she has ditched the laptop Teresa gave us, and has now a brand spanking new, rather swish-looking processor, as the STs can see, my blue-looking, and yeah, is basically fiddling around with it, putting it together with the craft specialization, and yeah, once she's done that, the inevitable mound of Chinese food will start appearing around her. She's found out that it's free. And yeah, she'll begin like plugging it in and hooking it up.
And sure, because Ava, or Ava as it is really actually pronounced, is in the common area as well, which is rare the last few days. Although at first she didn't seem to be going away from it. Now she seems to be kind of hooked on a certain room that she has occupied. But for some reason, she decided to take a little break. She's probably like stuck regarding the portal investigation at the moment, and has picked up the Russian English dictionary that she bought, and is just actually reading through it like you would read a book. She's reading a dictionary, and yeah, she's humming. She she's probably sitting pretty close to Nausicaa, but yeah, has her nose pretty much stuck in that book.
If she's humming, Nausicaa will give her kind of like annoyed glances.
Which she seriously does not pick up.
Yeah, she'll keep just looking more and more annoyed until she'll eventually just kind of come over and yeah, have her hands behind her back. Can you please not hum it? Oh, sorry. Can you please not hum? It is very distracting. I'm trying to work.
And Ava looks up, a little startled. Huh?
You were humming. Perhaps it was involuntary, but I was finding it rather distracting. I'm trying to work. I
Oh,
realize this is a common area, but I believe that we should all be able to use it comfortably. If there's not too much of a problem.
um, sure, whatever.
Thank
Yeah.
you. And she'll kind of nod and go sit back down.
Ava looks a little confused, being distracted from from what she was doing. Kind of stares at Nausicaa for a bit. Couple of seconds. 10 seconds, 20 seconds, 30
Nausicaa,
seconds.
out of her peripheral, sees she's being stared at. Is there something you would like to talk about?
You know, you're kind of rude. I mean, not that you didn't have the right to come over and ask, like, for me to shut up, but yeah.
I believe I asked politely.
Somewhat. Anyway, I think I'm gonna head down to the library.
What is in the library?
I don't know yet. Haven't been there.
As way of an apology, if I have been rude, would you care for company? I also have not been to the library.
Sure. If you want to. Don't want to disturb you or anything.
No, I would like to go there also. And Nausicaa will stand up and, power down her computer and actually follows you. She has in her hand a can of Monster energy drink, and in one of her other hands, she has like one of those boxes with Chinese food in and some chopsticks. And she's eating. You would notice that Nausicaa is almost constantly eating, and she is still like ridiculously skinny, almost like here. And yeah, she will follow you. I'll wander with you.
And Ava didn't really bring anything with her except the dictionary that she was still holding on to, and her notebook, of course. She doesn't go without it.
So I take it you two are descending to the library.
Yes.
The first thing you'll notice is that unlike the door to the portal room, the door to the library has been reconditioned, refurbished. It now actually says library instead of the few letters that were there before. The doorknob is polished. Both the doors are polished. The paint job's redone. It looks, for all intents and purposes, brand new.
Ava will stop kind of in front of the door and will look back at Nausicaa and says, I heard there was something uncommon about the library, though.
I've heard this as well.
Okay. Just didn't want
Are
to.
you worried to go in?
Are you? I just didn't know
Not
if
particularly.
you
I do not believe that Boris and Tasha would expose us to something overtly dangerous.
She raises an eyebrow slightly.
They put considerable efforts into acquiring us from the Technocratic Union. I would be surprised if they would let us die in their basement. It would be a waste of resources.
Could be. But if you turn it around, they could have also just wanted to prevent the technocracy from growing.
Then why are they feeding us and housing us? And, in essence, teaching us? Or at least allowing us to observe them?
Well, if we are children and we run around unattended, we might do more harm than good. Or we might get picked off the streets again within the hour. I mean, I'm not
You
saying
sound-
this is the case. I actually don't think it is the case. I am just not. I don't know.
It may be. But I believe if they wished for us to die, they could do it easily.
Quite possibly. But I also don't think that it's not like they need us. We need them more than they need us. And
Certainly.
I don't know, it feels kind of arrogant to say that they came there for us. They came there for, well, it doesn't matter. And she'll kind of like with her hand kind of touch the just the door, almost stroking it.
Nausicaa actually, kind of reluctantly, eats the last bit of Chinese food and takes a swig of the energy drink and then just puts them down outside. And then, yeah, kind of comes and stands next to Ava, looking at the big open library door.
Ava is a little uncertain as to how to proceed, but she'll just give a very, very soft knock on the doors, and it's basically just gonna ask, are we allowed to enter? And she's definitely asking this to the door.
From inside, you hear the same knocking. Like the same pattern you used to knock, you hear it from the other side of the door.
A response, indicating there is an intelligent being on the other side.
She'll take a step back and then forward again and knocks again with a slightly different pattern.
The door, you hear the same pattern, the new pattern from the inside.
Hmm. Do you think we can just open the door?
We have been told that this area is not disallowed to us. I assume so. However, I must admit I am curious about what is on the other side now.
And Ava's hand will go to the doorknob. And
Nausicaa steps back a little bit.
yeah. Takes 5 meters distance.
Not quite that far, but yeah.
She'll very gently kind of twist it or turn it in the way that this door would need to be opened, and gives this very small push to see if it would open.
The door opens. As in, it doesn't open further than you push it, but it's not locked, it's not barred, it's not closed.
Hello? She kind of pokes her head around the door.
You get no answer.
She'll look back at Nausicaa, then shrugs and steps in.
Nausicaa will follow, kind of hands behind her back, almost like she's slightly standing to attention, or at least in kind of a formal setting.
Okay, Ava.
Yeah.
Roll me your Dex Athletics and pray you get more than one success.
I figured. I didn't set up yet, by the way. Let me just do that. Oh wait, you already. Yeah. Let me actually start up the scene. I haven't actually given it a title yet, but let me see. Curiosity. Actually, oh, I have athletics. Oh, that's good. Knowing me, I will probably botch. No, I have a success.
Defender wins. So, a book flies straight at you, but you manage to tilt your head, dodge somehow, and it brushes your ear and the bit of your hair, and goes on the wall behind you and falls to your feet.
And Ava will, like, she looks twice as pale as she normally does, and looks at the book, looks at Nausicaa, looks into the library. I take it
Nausicaa,
we're not
like,
allowed to enter?
Nausicaa definitely, like, dodged the bag. Poke her head back around.
Ava,
Yes.
the book you have in your hand
Yes.
is a Swedish translation of Vladimir Nabokov's Lolita.
Okay. She will actually address the library in Swedish then, saying, I'm sorry if we trespass where we shouldn't, but we would really like to meet you and get acquainted with you.
You get no answer.
No, she didn't expect it, but she doesn't get a book, so that's a good thing.
Nausicaa, what are you doing?
Nausicaa is wandering in. Nausicaa has actually an ulterior motive for coming here. She has a rather deep and abiding love of classical literature, so much so that it's taken as the obsession floor. So she is going to basically kind of look around for anything that looks like it may be classical literature or anything to do with classical era.
Yeah, roll me your dex athletics.
Okie dokie.
Oh, this is a major botch.
Oh God, do I need
From
to
the
roll my
library.
athletics?
No.
I have a single success. Holy shit, you got
Wow.
something explodes or something.
Okay. You see a book flying towards you.
She kind of steps out of the way a little bit.
It flies in a perfect spinning motion straight towards your nose. About a foot away from your face, it breaks. The pages, the covers, everything goes flying, and it's like a wave in front of your head, but nothing touches you. And Ava, you see this wave of papers, of pages flying around Theo's head, and as they pass her, they fall to the floor. But shortly after, the book reforms and flies towards Nausicaa's hand, this time slowly, as she can pick it up.
Nausicaa definitely kind of like moved out of the way and was kind of like a bit frozen when all that magical stuff was happening around her. It's one of the more overtly magical effects she's seen since entering the Chantry. So she is slightly, slightly stunned and slightly looking in wonder. And yeah, if the book floats slow towards her, she'll just gently pull out her hands to take it.
In your hand, you now have F. Scott Fitzgerald, The Great Gatsby.
She cocks her head somewhat bird-like as she kind of looks at it. It's The Great Gatsby. I assumed we would have tomes of arcane significance down here.
Doesn't the library hold all sorts of books?
I don't know. I wonder for what reason why this particular book has such a strong... She stumbles for words. Magical enchantment over it. And she's actually going to open it and look to see if there's anything written on the inside cover, or if there's anything special about the book.
Who says it is the book?
It's your standard edition. It's the first edition, printed that came out in 1925. You see basically the cover art that shows a woman's face overimposed on the skyline. But there's nothing special about it at all. It's in a a surprisingly good condition for a book that's almost 100 years old, and that just shattered and was reformed. There's no sign of tears. There's no sign of gluing it back together. It's as mint as the day it came out. But it lacks the specific new book smell, quote unquote.
Kind of looks over it. Although this is, like you say, it looks relatively normal and plain, she is obviously incredibly impressed by the fact that you can fly and reform at will. Is there anything you're looking in for in particular, Ava?
Well, I am looking for several things, but nothing specific really. I was just kind of hoping, like I said, to see this library for myself. It sounded like an amazing place. She's kind of brushing through her book and is actually starting to read the beginning.
Actually, ladies, I would like both of you, since you both have this merit, to make me a perception awareness roll at the difficulty of 7.
Wait. Okay.
This will be the highest dice pool I've ever used so far.
Wow, you have more.
3 successes.
I have none. I suck.
Okay. Ava, in case you're not convinced, now you are. There's something magical about the library. Nausicaa, with your 2 successes, because that's a difficulty of 7.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sorry.
You feel somehow that the books that have been thrown to you are somehow tied to how the library sees you as a person.
I actually may have 3, because would uncanny insight be my perception specialty? It doesn't matter, actually. You give me information. Nausicaa will, yeah.
Okay, I'll rephrase that for 3 successes. It ties into the first impression you gave, air quotes, the library.
I believe that these books that the library has given to us may be some form of communication on its part. If we are going to assume the library possesses some form of sentience, which it may do. I have been given the Great Gatsby. You have been given the Lita. I believe this may represent how the library perceives us.
She raises 2 eyebrows at that. Huh. Why though? That would be the case.
I do not know. I have not read either of these books, but I will do. Thank you, library. Nausicaa is in no way embarrassed or awkward that she just basically said that to a bookshelf. Shall we look further in? I want to see if they have any copies of any Hellenistic literature.
mean, we can try. I don't want to upset it, or her, or him, or whatever it wishes
It.
to refer itself to.
I believe it would be the correct pronoun, unless we are told otherwise. I assume the library is genderless.
Hmm. I don't want to assume, really. No one upset it. Her, him. But we can try.
Yeah, and are there any labelings on the shelves or anything?
No, for all you can tell, uh, whoever stacked the books in the shelves went by had a thematic approach, but thematic in a very broad sense. You see shelves that only have 2 or 3 books. You see empty shelves. You see shelves that have books lined up and a few squeezed between. Like it has more books than it would normally hold. You see weird combinations of books, books that are in, for all you can tell, other languages. Particularly, you'll be able to notice that there's some in Russian, there's some in uh, some Asian languages, there's some in Greek, some in Latin, next to stuff like coloring books and self-improvement books and Sandra Brown novels. Hello?
Yeah, basically just looks along the wall. Quite interested. She will actually begin looking for any books on ancient Greece.
And yeah, Ava will follow. She kind of lets her hand glide past the different books. More or less just she doesn't really know how this system works. So what she's looking for is books about, well, surprise they are dreams, but also like Russian grammar, language, stuff like that. So she's just letting her hand kind of slide past the uh, like the cover of the books.
You make out, presuming the fact that you're familiar enough with the alphabet at this point, you make out some titles. There's no books about grammar. The only books you find that have the Cyrillic alphabet on them are basically plays from Dostoevsky, actually no, from Chekhov, sorry, from Chekhov, Ilfin Petrov, and other 18th and 19th century Russian authors, as well as a herbarium, a guide to plants. It's entitled something along the lines of healing yourself from the green pharmacy or something along those lines.
Might be interesting.
Nausicaa, the only volume you find of Hellenistic literature that's in English, you find a small, rather short book. It might have like 20, 30 pages. It's Sappho's Ode to Aphrodite with the comments of an Oxford professor in ancient literature. The name doesn't particularly ring any bells.
She will actually take it off the shelf and
It doesn't. You can't pull it out. Like you feel the shelf itself tugging back.
she looks annoyed. She's going to tug harder.
It doesn't give way.
She pouts and obviously gets a bit grumpy. Please, may I have this book, library? I would very much like to read it.
You feel something, someone approaching you. You can't see anybody, but you hear a childlike voice whispering in your ear. Now.
She spins around to. I assume there's no one there.
No, Ava standing a little away from her. She's watching her though.
Ava,
Yes.
roll me your arity.
Uh-oh.
You know what?
Not 2d21s, please. 2d10. Headache. That's a botch.
Oh,
Yeah. Your strangeness
Oh
doesn't
no.
act out. And just because, actually, nah, I'm gonna treat a botch in this case as a paradox backlash. Have you got any paradox?
No.
Yeah, you're safe. Yeah, botching usually implies paradox backlash, but since you have no paradox,
At least I don't think. No, I don't have one. No.
you're gonna get a small headache, a short one, like 20-second. You feel for like 5 or actually even shorter, 5 or 10 seconds. You feel like something's pushing down on your head. It's like a pressure inside your skull that goes away afterwards.
She grabs her head with like one hand. It's like, ow. And since there's nothing really happening around her, but there is stuff happening apparently around Nausicaa, she's kind of looks at her. It's like, what are you doing? That hurts.
I'm not doing anything to you. I'm simply asking the library if I may borrow this book. It has said no. I will attempt to negotiate with it. Library, what may I do for you to be able to take this book and read it?
You get no answer.
Can she open the book just like on the shelf?
No, it's with the back sticking out. You wouldn't be able to open it.
Ava can see she gets a little, like, she's clearly getting a little annoyed.
Do you want
Fine.
me to try to take a book?
Not particularly. If you would like to, though, don't let me stop you.
Oh, no, I just...
If you wish to take this one for me, see if that would work, perhaps. Or maybe we are only allowed one book at a time.
She shrugs. I don't know.
Me either.
And She'll wander over to Nausicaa and look at the book. It's that one that you wanted to read?
Yes.
She'll just, like, she won't actually try and take it out. She'll just try to move it slightly with her finger.
Doesn't
As
move.
she expects. Yeah, that's what she kind of expected. So instead of making an ass out of herself by trying to pull out the book, she just kind of shrugs. I really doubt it would let me take that. But
I will read this one first. And perhaps if I understand how the library perceives me, then I will return and read that one. She does look a bit grumpy about this in a kind of like bit of a pent-up way.
Ava will wander back over to the book that caught her interest, which is the one with the herbs and the plants and everything. As she presumes that it has pictures, and it's usually easier to translate a book if there are pictures so that you can understand references being made. And she'll look at it, kind of doubting.
It's a leather-bound tome for all intents and purposes. It's probably well over 1,000 pages. Presumably, you wouldn't be able to pull that one out by yourself, even from a normal library.
Library. I was wondering if you could help me. That book seems very heavy. I would like to study it if you would allow me to. But I wouldn't even be able to get it off the shelf, even if you would allow me to. Could you help me get it down?
You feel the same feeling of someone, something approach and whisper in your ear with the same childlike scary voice. No.
And she nods. Am I allowed to return here? Later?
You get no answer.
So far it's been playing. So yeah, she'll kind of nod, taking that as a silent agreement. And yeah, she'll go back to the door. She doesn't try to persuade the library right now.
As you go back to the door, you notice for the first time since entering two things. On the table on the far corner closest to the door, there's a big red leather-bound ledger. You'd recognize it easily as being a library register. And above it on the wall, you see a sign that clearly states, please return all books to the shelves before exiting the library.
She'll look at the book in her hand, looks at the register, kind of wanders over to it. Is it like open?
Nope, it's closed. And there's a pencil next to it.
She'll try to pick up the pencil.
You pick up the pencil.
Yay. And then she'll try and open the register.
As you open the register, you see you see multiple columns. The first one says first name, then last name, then title of book, name of author, and there's a final column as well. You see, before that, you see on the first row, you see Elijah's name as he tried to borrow a book out of character, I can't remember, but you'd see the title as well. And on the last column, you see a stamp that says denied in bold red letters.
Right. Ava will look over at Nausicaa again. She says, I think this is a place where we can, like, see if we're allowed to read certain books. And she'll write her name in it and then write Lolita on it as a title.
There's also a column with the author's name.
Oh, of course, fill in the author's name as well.
Yeah, as you finish this, out of nowhere from the page arises the same red stamp that you see next to Elijah's name that says denied in bold red letters.
She nods slowly, then puts down the pencil. Apparently, I'm not allowed to take this book.
Strange.
Which means either I have to read it here, which technically I can do, or I will have to find where it came from and replace it and place it back on the shelf.
You remember that when you looked through the library, you saw two places where your book might fit. One being the one with Russian literature, and the other one being the one with Swedish translations of famous authors.
Let me see if the library will allow me to take this out. And Nausicaa will do the same thing.
Like write everything in the register?
Pardon?
Write her name in the register and try to borrow the book?
Yeah.
Yeah, you get the same effect. Surprisingly, even though you still see Elijah's name, you don't see Ava's in there. And as you write your name and the name of the author and so on and so forth, you see on the final column the same stamp with denied written in bold red letters, and next to it you see something written in English with a very elegant penmanship. It says, "You girls can't really get the hint?" Question mark. And after 3 or 4 seconds in which the library is convinced that you get the message, the text disappears, the little message disappears.
Nausicaa steps back, nods. I believe the library wishes us to read these books here and now. And she will actually just like basically exactly where she's standing, just sit cross-legged on the floor and open the first page of The Great Gatsby and read the famous opening lines.
Ava will. She's actually kind of wondering if that's like the right gesture, or if we simply don't get that we're not wanted here. But yeah, she will go sit on the floor and we'll start reading it too. Well, Lolita, that is not Great Gatsby.
As the two of you start reading, you get a subtle feeling that you're not particularly wanted in this particular room. Floorboards start to creak. Books fly, not to hit you, just to scare you. Occasionally, you hear the rattle of a shelf. You hear laughter from the same voice that both of you heard. It's I hate to use this metaphor, but it's like Gollum laughing.
I mean, if Gollum's laughing in the corner, then Nausicaa would be just stand up. I think perhaps the library does not want us to be here. We should return these books and leave.
That is what I thought.
Nausicaa, you said there were two spaces. One was in literature.
You notice that besides the only space in which you could fit your book is the one of. No, actually, no. There's two. There's one with a varied collection of 20th century novels, and another one with great American literary classics. So you have a choice as well.
He will put it, obviously, in the American literary classics, as that's what The Great Gatsby is.
Nausicaa, you feel a pat on your back.
And Ava will put hers at the she would put hers at the Swedish translations of great authors. She's probably wrong.
Ava.
Yes.
You get the pat on the back.
Oh. Yeah, she'll start leaving.
Okay.
Go at the door.
Okay. Nausicaa, what are you doing?
She looks around one last time. And, yeah. Basically just like, kind of like, yeah, she's clearly like scowling a little bit and glances towards the book she very much wants out. And then we'll put her hands behind her back and also leave.
The door closes behind you slowly, and you hear the which you, without too much thought, realize is someone locking the library from the inside.
Well, that didn't go too bad.
No. It could have been much worse.
Yes.
I'm going upstairs. I'm going to ask Lee for some duck and plum sauce.
Who?
Lee.
I don't think I know him.
He's the cook.
Oh. There's like no recognition whatsoever.
Yeah, Nautico will basically just head back upstairs and then downstairs to the restaurant. And yeah, she's going to go ask Lee for some duck and plum sauce. And once she's there, she'll also have a salt and pepper starter.
She is served by Lee without anything, without noticing anything in particular. I mean, it's a pretty busy night in the Happy Dragon. So Lee just gives you your order and goes back to work.
She thanks him and then returns to the common area.
Inside the common area, you notice Boris, who is fidgeting around with the map. And talking to himself in Russian.
Ava by that time would probably also have returned to the common room. Just curling up on that chair again.
Is going to go up to Boris once she's put her food down, and again, kind of like standing in a very proper way with her hands behind her back. She will address him. Boris. Mr. Wolfsbane.
And Boris grabs the map from like the middle, which is like the most improper way of folding a map ever, and shoves it in the pocket of his robe. No, Boris is fine. Yes, Theo.
Me and one of the other escapees, Ava, went to the library today.
Yes.
We stayed for a short while, but we had the feeling that we were not welcome there. The library itself seemed to be flustered or annoyed by our presence.
Yes, like I told you, library has temper.
As long as this is normal and we have not done anything unusual to perhaps aggravate it.
Some people she like more, some people she like less. I think from what I heard, library really like Elijah. You should talk to him.
There is a book in there I would wish to read, but the library would not let me take it.
There is books in library that I would want to read, but library not exactly friendly with Boris.
Very curious.
Best advice I can give you, talk to Elijah. Apparently, he might have done something right.
Osika considers that for a moment and then nods. Boris, I have several other questions, if you would mind.
No problem. Give me a moment. You want tea?
No, thank you. I do not drink tea.
Coffee? Vodka?
I do not drink coffee or vodka. If you happen to have an energy drink, I would drink that. Or soda, if you don't.
I look in fridge, but I'll tell you, rots liver and bad for heart. And Boris stands up and goes to the library, to the kitchen. Makes 2 cups of black Russian tea. Spikes one of the cups with copious amounts of vodka to the point in which the tea changes color. And goes to the fridge and finds a can of Coke. He comes back to the common room, puts the can of Coke in front of Nausicaa, puts the unspiked wine in front of Ava, because he pretty much learned at this point that it's not the wisest thing to try and disturb her, because you won't get an answer. And takes his cup of severely alcoholic to the point in which it gives off an odor, black tea, and sits himself inside on an armchair and slowly stirs his concoction. I could not find energy drink. I hope Coke is good.
It is adequate. Thank you. So, my questions were this. I would like to know, I've heard more tellings of groups of wizards and mages, as you call them, and I would like to learn about them, if I am to be an apprentice. Also, I would desire a basic explanation of, and she cocks her head, I believe they have been referred to as spheres, different forms of energy and magic. If you could explain them to me, please. I have only heard snippets so far, and I would like a full categorical understanding.
It's not hard to do, but you will hear my version of it, which is not necessarily, might not necessarily work for you.
I understand this. I will ask other people if I am able to, and I will analyze the results and come to my own conclusions.
These groups of people, like you call them, we call everyone who can do magic a mage. Wizard, sorcerer is not polite way of saying, is more joke between friends, not exactly polite term. So the preferred term is mages. These groups, as you call them, are called traditions. This is the term that everyone uses. And I do believe that me and Tasha gave you a basic rundown of how each tradition, what their names are, and how they act, what they focus on. Is there a particular tradition you are interested in?
What tradition does Tasha belong to?
Tasha is virtual adept, as they call them. They are technological mages. Is their internet mages?
They're scientists.
Somehow, yes, somehow you said spheres. They specialize in correspondence, which is kind of hard to explain. Is how something is specializing between distance of between things, is is art of roads, of pathways, of getting from here to there and from there to here, and is the art of walking on those roads, on those pathways. But I think this is conversation best had with Tasha.
I understand.
But virtual adepts, other thing you might want to know is some traditions change in time, and some pick new names or some pick other things, and some of the virtual adepts think that their name is old. So some call themselves the Mercurial Elite now, but most people know them as the virtual adepts.
And you have described yourself as being a member of the Vibana tradition.
Verbena. Yes.
Verbena.
We are mages of life. We might be the only tradition that takes calling one of us a witch or a warlock as a compliment, because this is what we are. We are witches and wizards from fairy tales, from folk tales. We are the mages of life. And this is what we specialize in. This is why most of us are good healers. Some of us are good shapeshifters. Some of us are good biologists. And the few scientists we have, because we are tradition, and he makes air quotes, old school tradition. We see life as a flow. Some things flow, everything flows, and that's how life works. Blood flows within you, so you're alive. Water flows in nature, so trees grow. And it's hard to explain magic at intellectual level. Is more feeling than thinking.
I believe that I have manifested certain applications of this magic, although I do not believe they would fit in with your understanding. I have been able to do much more complicated mathematical equations than I would normally have been able to. Information has jumped out at me when I have desired it to.
See, it's good, but you need to practice to figure out this. To see more of it.
This brings me to my second point. How would I know if I am able to do these things as like you, perhaps, but I don't know it? How would I find this out?
Experiment. Like Tasha said, anything can be a tool. Anything can be used. Some things work for some people, for others they don't. What works for you doesn't work for me, and backwards. So you try to remember what you did when you did that big math, and try and do it again and see if it works. Is mixture of will and right tools and proper thinking of things. It's not hard, but it takes practice.
I will do this. And yeah, Nausicaa will go and sit down. She won't actually go sit down at her little computer. She'll actually go sit on one of the kind of sofas and cuddle herself up, and she'll begin downloading a copy of The Great Gatsby as an ebook.
Ava has been listening silently. From time to time, kind of checking in her like little book that she had with her, a little notebook, and she actually looks up as the two had clearly ended their conversation and cocks her head as she sips the tea. Is there a way to prove something? That sounds weird. Is there a way to prove when you've seen or you think you've seen something that might be true? Is there a way to prove it?
Yes, you try and do it again. At some point, you learn the difference between what is true and what is not true. Though after a while, true is very relative term.
Okay. Because I was wondering, can magic come in dreams or something?
Of course, magic can come in dream. Dream is old way of seeing magic, of is your soul speaking to you when you want to do magic. There is tradition that is traditionally works with dreams is dream speakers. If name is dream speaker, they speak in dreams. So yes, dream is very good way. We sometimes the verbena and the other traditional traditions we use dreams sometimes. I don't, but other verbena do. Is good way of getting more time to think of things. Is good way of finding out what is going to happen.
Or perhaps what has happened?
Yes, please. Looking at time, you can look back, you can look in front. Is possible, yes.
Nausicaa kind of sits up at this. There are wizards who are able to see into the future.
Yes, is what you call it in English is screeching into the future.
Scrying.
Yes, scrying into the future. Yes, it's possible. Of course, it's possible. There are little limits when doing magic.
Could you look into the future and, for example, see when a company was going to fail or be merged?
Never try to see future of companies, but you see future if you focus on particular aspect. Yes, you can see future of company, you can see future of weather, you can see future of hairstyle, you can see future of whatever you want.
you say you can see the weather?
Yes, it's not big deal. I sometimes use, if I have something to do, I see if tomorrow rains or tomorrow is sunny. But if you get to a certain point, and I come from large gentry, from traditional area and traditional gentry. So if we do not like weather because it's sunny and we want rain, we make it rain. If we don't like because it rain, we can make it sunny, but it takes effort and time, and it's easier to do in more people.
My degree from university, my thesis was written on weather prediction and applying chaos maths to see if you could extrapolate. It is commonly thought that predicting the weather more accurately than we currently have would be almost impossible.
It's very possible. It's possible to predict weather even 10 years from now on same day. But science is not good with magic. Few people can see magic like it should be.
You could make a lot of money.
I have other ways of making money, and I don't need that much money.
We could achieve great things if we are able to see the future.
Yes, but keep in mind that future is not set in stone. If you see future, future knows you look at it. If other people see future, future already knows. People can change the future. People can change the past. Is time is complex. Is special magic to work with. Is hard to understand.
Of course, in this city, you've heard of Wall Street, correct?
Yes, is with big spenders and people with lots of money. And yes, I know.
In Wall Street, there are computer servers, and they are able to charge millions and millions for their services because they have their banks next door to the stock exchange. This gives them a minute incremental advantage to somebody who is trading from, say, Boston. The difference is perhaps less than a second, but because they are able to see half a second into the future, faster than the other traders, the people they are competing against, they have a distinct advantage. And this distinct advantage translates into much better trading patterns, analytics, and prediction methods.
You think that you're the first one to think of this? Mages have been using future to make money since as time immemorial. But keep in mind, technocracy does it too. And there is a reason why you don't use magic to get rich. Because if you get rich, people notice. If people notice, you don't. There is rules we go by. There is okay. This might be as good time as any. When you become mage, you have rules to work with and rules to live by. They make sure you don't screw up. You don't is hard to put. Is called okay. Both of you listen. There is set of 9 rules which are You see Boris getting pissed off a little, frustrated a little. And
Ava will actually hold out the dictionary to him.
no. Boris goes back to his room, comes out with his little wonder bag. This is lesson best continued on roof. And he takes his cup and waits to see if any of the two of you react to his invitation to go to the roof.
Well, Sika will happily go, taking her can of Coke with her.
Ava remembers the only time she was on that roof. Luke is not convinced, but we'll yeah, we'll follow.
And Boris proceeds to the roof. Of course, you see the plants react to his presence. Basically, blooming as he steps up. And as he fails to even notice this, he pulls out his pipe and his bag of weird mint tobacco and other plants combination. Stuffs his pipe, lights it, and as he lights it and takes a long drag out of it, both of you look at him and you hear him speaking in your mind, like his lips are not moving. And surprisingly, even though it's his voice and it's his particular manner of speech, somehow his message comes across a lot better. His grammar is perfect. His intonation is perfect. You know Sika hear him in English. Ava, you hear him in what's her mother language?
Swedish.
Swedish. Yeah, you hear him in Swedish. All right, I have to do this for you to understand this, because these are vital aspects of our ways. There are rules. There are 9 rules that all mages must respect from the moment of awakening onwards. They are called the protocols, and they are as such. The first one calls for all mages to respect those of greater knowledge. We are obligated, since the time of awakening until the time we move forward with our next life, to respect those who are older, who are wiser, who have more experience in life, not necessarily in magic. The second protocol asks us to repay our tutors' debts, to show reverence and to show appreciation to those who have taught us the ways of magic, and show appreciation and show gratitude and give something back to the person that taught us. And as he says this, he continues to take drags from the pipe. The third protocol says that the mage's word is his honor, and that thou shalt not break a sworn vow. It's a law that most of us take it to be common knowledge, but it's stated because after a certain period of time, we tend to speak half-truths or twist the truth. The fourth one says that the will of an oracle must be obeyed, but it's hard to explain what an oracle is, and no one has seen one in ages, so best go over this one.
An oracle?
Yes, oracles are supposed to be mages of inhuman skill and age, but they are rare, and like I said, they haven't appeared to anyone in ages. The
Like
fifth,
the Oracle of Thebes.
like the Oracle of Thebes, like the Oracle of Delphi, other oracles, but those were human oracles, whereas our protocols tell us about magical oracles. The fifth law states, betray not your cabal or your chantry. A chantry, like I told you before, is a mage house. Is a sort of building like the one we're in which mages can work together, in which mages can learn together, in which they can live and train. And your cabal is a group with which you work. I'd be reluctant to say that you have formed a cabal with the other mages that Tasha saved, but you're getting there. The sixth law states that thou shalt conspire not with the enemies of ascension. Our goal as mages is to ascend, to move past this, to broaden our understanding to a point in which we are not tied down by the fact that we are humans. These enemies, some of them you have met. The technocracy, the ones that kidnapped you, are one of the enemies that wish for people's belief in magic to die so that they can rule. The others are the marauders, people who have been robbed of their minds because of their power. And the third are the Nefandi. They are demon worshippers beyond any Hollywood trope you might know. They are actual worshippers. To become Nefandus, you must kill your soul. And there's no way back. The eighth law says that we have to protect the sleepers, that they are ignorant of what we do. It's a custom to not use our talents in front of those that haven't awakened, in front of normal humans. It's best for them, it's best for us. That's why, Nausicaa, this is why I strongly advise against using magic for material gain. Because this ties into the next and the final law. It says, be subtle in your arts and let sleepers know not of what you are. It's a traditional law. Sometimes we call this the rule of shade. We created this protocol to protect mages from witch hunters and religious fanatics. But it is best that they do not know that we exist, for the same reason that they do not know werewolves exist, or vampires exist, or fairies exist, or demons exist. It's best for them and it's best for us. And as Boris says this, he finishes his pipe, and you feel something leaving the back of your head, both of you. And you see Boris's eyes flash for a second as he regains himself, and you see him visually tired. Sorry you had to do this is not thing to joke. Is best way I could explain. Is not polite for me speak to your mind directly, but is very serious matter. So I hope you can forgive me.
Nausicaa just nods, and having listened to the rules, they all seem wise.
They are very old laws that have kept us safe for the past centuries. Please, to the best of your ability, share them with the others. Is hard to do something like this.
You mentioned that the enemies of Ascension, one of these I assume is the Technocratic Union that took us prisoner.
Yes.
Do Magi make efforts to strike back against these people? I must admit there is in me a desire for revenge.
It's not wise to fight them. They have money, they have people, they have ability. In recent times, we, the traditional mages, are few and far between. But yes, there have been situations. It's like with traditions and technocracy is like how it was in 60s and 70s is Cold War. Sometimes it gets a little warmer, sometimes it gets a little colder, but nobody wants full war with them.
They started it.
Yes, but if we rush, they might be the ones that end it.
I do not wish to rush, but they have taken a lot from me, and I am unable to get that back.
Are they stronger than us?
It's hard to tell. They don't exactly publish list of members and funding. In some cities they are, in some cities they are not. Some places they are very strong, in some places they aren't there at all. In New York, apparently they are strong. And Boris takes his little bag of magic and I'll be right back. And out of character, I'll be right back too. So talk among yourselves.
I believe they must be strong. I was investigated by the FCC. This is not something that is done lightly. They clearly have some pull and sway over the city's institutions.
I still don't know how they got to me. But I don't want to take revenge necessarily. I just want to make sure that it won't happen again. And we're not I doubt we're the only ones who've been taken. Well,
Boris has said that they have money. They clearly have sway over certain institutions. I would like to see what it would be like to fight them at their own game.
I mean, there's only one of you. And a lot of them, apparently.
No,
Oh
there
no.
is a whole chantry of us.
Well, I know nothing, well, next to nothing about this, all this market stuff, and I'm not very technology savvy. I mean, it's not that I don't know what I'm doing, but it's not my forte.
I also don't know what I'm doing, but I plan to change that.
Yeah, but you're working with actual technology, and I am trying to grab dreams.
I do not know that my... And she kind of squints slightly. I do not know that my magic, as they have called it, will manifest as technology, like Tasha. That was my
Well,
previous job.
that is fair, but you said you knew how to, calculate stuff. I suck at algebra and stuff like that, so
If you would like, I could teach you. It's very simple, really.
I mean, we all have things that we're better at and we're worse at. I don't consider myself very adept to like formulas and such, but well, maybe I'll take you up on that offer at some point.
My rates will be very reasonable for someone with my level of qualifications.
You see the flowers blooming again, which is an obvious give up that Boris is ascending to the roof. He comes back and sits down without saying anything.
Ava will look back at Nausicaa. I'll think about it. It might be interesting at some point to learn that form of language. But for now, I think I have enough to study and to develop.
Numbers are the raw language of the universe. Physics is merely trying to understand creation and divine its laws.
By the way, have you tried practice doing magic? If you want to fight technocracy at their own game, you need to be good at magic.
I would like to, but I'm not quite sure how. Do I need a spell book or...
Some mages make spellbooks, some mages don't. Is up to you, but you don't get spellbook, you make spellbook. You need to figure out how to do stuff, and when you figure out, you try and practice and practice and practice.
If you could give me a task to attempt to achieve, then I would happily obey the law you said and pay you for your services as a tutor.
You said you interested in seeing future. You might want to try to see future, see if you find anything. Like try simple things. Try to see who wins next football game, or how weather is like tomorrow, and like simple things. Try simple things to see, and things that happen in like 10 minutes from now, 20 minutes from now, and just do it for yourself. And at some point, you get good at it.
Nausicaa looks like she's not really sure what to say. I'm not sure how to go about beginning to do something impossible. Could you give me a guideline or an example so that I may be able to base my hypothesis on previous work?
You said you did magic, you did math that you could not possibly do.
Yes.
Try and remember what you did there and try and do it again. And see if you get same result or other result.
What I did I do not believe to be strictly magical, while it is certainly an advanced form of what I was already doing.
Yes, but advanced form does not come from nothing. It comes from is magic, is scientific magic. Is you can try for yourself or you can ask Tasha for help. Tasha a lot better at this than I am.
Nausicaa looks like she has a little idea, and she kind of goes off into the corner and begins actually fiddling around on a smartphone.
What about you, Lisochka? Have you tried doing anything else since the last time we were up here?
I may have done some things at the portal.
The portal in the basement.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm interested. What did you do?
Well, when we went there the first time, I actually tried to, I don't know, I tried to look at the writings on the walls, and I tried to look at how they were connected to the portal.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I did
It's good.
manage to see that they were part of a ritual to open the door.
Okay.
And later I actually had a dream. I was
See, like I
alone
told you.
there. Sorry?
Like I told you, you need to practice. It's good.
I think I know what's behind the portal now. And I think I saw how people opened it.
Then you should try and open it. Find others, take others with you, and try and open it.
I need to find a stepping stone first and see how the ritual actually goes.
Yes. Maybe you take Zio with you if she actually manages to find way of seeing in the past. Maybe you see how they opened it back then.
Yeah, that's why I need the stepping stone. They kind of, I don't know, they were doing some kind of ritual where they all drew blood and were chanting, and they had a stepping stone which they placed in front of the portal, and then they managed to open it and step through.
then you need to find that.
Yeah, but I don't know how.
You tried last time you were here. You tried. You tried that pipe. You did things similar to what I do.
Yeah.
Try it there. See if it works. Try it over here and see if you see the same things again.
She nods. Yeah, I might be able to do that.
Mr. Lupu.
Yeah.
In the past few minutes, Nausicaa has pulled up on her phone. I don't know what the American version of the Met Office is, but basically, whoever monitors the weather, basically like a heap of information from them.
Okay.
Past, yeah, literally yeah, as much just raw data as she can possibly get. And can I make a time effect? I believe I'd have to use to predict the weather.
Let's see.
See, this is why I don't really understand data, because if I wanted to do it like for anywhere that's not immediately me, I'd have to add correspondence to it, right?
Yeah. But since you're dealing with data here,
so I basically can't predict the weather because it's not like quote unquote on the grid.
yeah, you're making a point here.
This is why I'm kind of out of character, considering begging you guys to just let me use the basic correspondence.
Actually, I'd argue that because you are using your mobile and you're doing internet searches.
And this is my thing is, sorry to have this discussion in scene, but I'm using data as my point of correspondence because I have information about the weather, and I like that aspect of data. But then it has this whole like basically like must be online aspect to it that I don't know, I just find a bit hammy. And do you know what I mean?
Yeah, we can continue this conversation out of character.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. But can I make this roll basically?
Yeah, make me a narrative roll.
Okie dokie. Are there any? Can I make a research roll to make the difficulty easier? I believe there's a thing about if you use your you can make like normal rolls of things to reduce difficulties for RET rolls.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Yeah, in this case, it's something pretty scientific. Yeah.
So can I do intelligence? Basically, can I do intelligence research to reduce the difficulty? I think it's every 2 successes you get 1 less.
Yeah. It's every 2 successes.
Yeah. Okay. I have only a single. No, I have 2. I have 3. No, sorry, 2 successes at difficulty 6. If that's the roll.
Yeah. So roll me your ability at the difficulty of 5.
I have a single success.
You see that from all the patterns you see in front of you on your screen, you find one that you get the gut feeling that one of them in particular that describes how the weather will be like in the next 12 hours catches your attention to a point in which it basically selects itself and zooms in on it on your screen out of 6 or 7 potential hypotheses on how the weather will be like in the next 12 hours. A specific one that tells you that is the one that accurately predicts the weather in the next 12 hours zooms in and is highlighted on your screen.
Cool. What does it say?
It basically describes how the weather in New York is going to be like in the next 12 hours. How it actually will be in the next 12 hours. If it says that it's going to be mild winds and rain, it's going to be mild winds and rain, and so on and so forth. Because I don't exactly know how the weather is like in New York, out of character.
Sure. So yeah.
So for all intents and purposes,
I'm sure it's not going to matter. We just make something up.
Yeah, you now know with 100% certainty how the weather in New York is going to, like in the general New York area, will be in the next 12 hours.
Nausicaa, will wander over to Boris and put her phone down. I've analyzed various data points and data collections from government agencies as well as private institutions, including the University of Columbia. It would be my prediction, having analyzed these, that tomorrow we are going to have a light shower, scattering of clouds, winds in the 34 mile an hour radius, and about 1/4 inch of rain.
Oh, so tomorrow gonna rain. Okay, I will put some of my plants out. The rainwater does them good. Boris says as he begins to put take some of the potted plants from their sheltered positions more to an open space area and distributes them evenly so they could all get a bit of rain. Thank you.
If this proves to be true, then in 5 minutes I have done more in a field which I studied for 4 years and have a 200-page thesis written on it.
Yes, is how magic works. Things that take normal humans a lot of time, we take little time to do. It's normal. You need to take time with it.
Nausicaa nods. I'm going to go practice this some more.
Go ahead, have fun.
And Nausicaa will nod to them both. Again, it's not friendly. It's almost like kind of in a formal way, the way you might kind of nod to a work companion when you leave a meeting. And she will go downstairs.
Yeah, that might be a place to end the scene.
Thank you, players, for playing. Thank you, watchers, for watching. This has been Living World of Darkness, Mage Venue from the Ashes.